I cannot believe Melissa Stark forced Najee Harris to shout out Chris Collinsworth.
Shout out to the O-line. Shout out to Kenny P right here. Y'all see this rookie serving, man. He's staying, have a good composure. He doing his Dougie. Shout out to my man Kenny. Shout out to Mike T, man. Hey, shout out to the Bay.
And Chris Collinsworth.
And Chris Collinsworth.
Why would you do that to Najee? Hasn't he received enough criticism in his young career? One of the worst things you can be in the NFL is a Collinsworth stan. What's next? Jim Nantz making Tony Romo more uncomfortable than when he broke his collarbone?
Was the Redskins lost earlier today to the Browns. They went here.
Oh yeah, that did happen. If you like words making you cringe, well, you're in the right place. It's Week 17, best and worst of NFL Sunday here on That's Good Sports. I'm your stupid football host, Brandon Perna, and I have combed the internet for the best and worst NFL plays, players, games, moments, and whatever from Week 17. Let's do it. That's good. Sports. Please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel, and if you want to support my dumb face, check out my coffee company, BenchwarmerBrew.com. We've got the 8-bit shirts there, the highest quality coffee, and pretty soon I've got a new blend or two that we're gonna drop in the store for the playoffs. We've got the losers blend coming, so... All right, worst use of a big hat? Jair Alexander. You cannot be taken seriously with this hat on.
Tell Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless they need to, watch what they say when they talk about me. You feel me? They need to watch what they put out, talking about he a good corner, great corner.
Imagine Calvin Ridley showing up to the commissioner's office asking to be reinstated with that hat on. Tom Brady showing up to his divorce hearing with that hat. It does not help your case. Just Jair trying to shut up the haters with that hat. I can't. It might be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, and I watched all of the Broncos games this year. Best game that I forgot happened, Falcons versus Cardinals. Might as well have been the Pigeons versus the Crows. Two irrelevant birds who nobody even notices anymore. Worst mascot intro? Introducing Major Tuddy. Only the Commanders could fail at honoring one of the greatest parts of their franchise. Again, they fucked up the Sean Taylor tribute, and now they disrespected their offensive line from the 80s and 90s, aka the Hogs, by having a hog for a mascot and then naming him Major Tuddy. In fact, the Commanders may have just had the flat out worst Sunday. Commanders had a 21-play drive in a loss. Here's a new rule for the NFL. If you can't score in the first 20 plays of a drive, it's an automatic turnover. The field is only 100 yards. You shouldn't need 21 plays to get all the way down the field. And they also had the worst QB on Sunday, which goes to Carson Wentz, who took over for the Commanders following the strange benching of Taylor Heineke. Wentz was legitimately awful, tossing 3 picks and no touchdowns while amassing a passer rating of just 31. If you're choosing between 2 bad QBs, just start the one that the team fucking likes, Ron. The Commanders were eliminated from the playoffs, and Ron Rivera was the last to know.
If you guys are eliminated today by what happens at 4 o'clock, is Sam Howell in consideration?
We can be eliminated.
Yeah, if the Packers beat the Vikings, then you guys are eliminated.
Even Major Tuddy knew, Ron. Even Major Tuddy knew. Best quarterback? I'm giving it to poor man's Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones. Oh, what about Tom Brady, Brandon? What about Tom and his 400 passing yards? Do you think it's a coincidence Tom Brady threw for over 400 yards the same week he posted photos of himself making out with his son again? I don't.
You can kiss him goodbye.
Is Tom actively trying to get his kid bullied at school? Dan Jones accounted for 4 touchdowns to Tom's 3, and Dan Jones helped the Giants clinch the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Jones also tossed 2 passing TDs, just 5 incompletions on the day, and had 91 rushing yards to boot. with 2 rushing TDs. Brady literally has -5 rushing yards on the season. I cannot understate how important Daniel Jones ending the Giants' boat curse is. Even the people who were on the Titanic look at this photo and say, damn, that's tragic. How many curses has Tom Brady broken? 0. Because he has the greatest luck in NFL history. Best individual performance goes to Mike Evans, who went off on checks notes, Keith Taylor, CJ Henderson, and Josh Norman on the sideline. After a pretty lackluster first 15 games of the season, Evans exploded for 10 catches, 207 yards, and a trio of touchdowns as the Buccaneers earned themselves a well-deserved home game, clinching the NFC South as they improved to 8-8 on the season. You can see Henderson flat out giving up on this play. Evans' stat line kind of overshadows the fact that the Panthers had the lead for most of this game, and how significant the J.C. Horn injury was to the Panthers secondary. I would like to thank the Panthers O-line for being as bad as the Broncos with the game on the line. Trailing by 3. Sam Darnold is strip sacked, just like Russell Wilson was by the Chiefs. The Panthers, though, still had a chance, a slim one, with 42 seconds left in the game. And then we witnessed the greatest punt in NFL history by Jake Camarda, turning this disaster, a botched snap, into a punt that got downed at the 2. Luck does follow Tom Brady wherever he goes, and that's why dudes want to play with him. Best offense? Well, the best offense on Sunday was, to no one's surprise, Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions. Jared Goff was more or less perfect with 3 touchdown passes, 2 to tight end Brock Wright, who can do no wrong. And in a shocking turn of events, it was DeAndre Swift, not Jamal Williams, who found that sweet Detroit pay dirt. Okay, well, Williams also found it, and yes, it was from the goal line, but the two-headed monster is back. 144 rushing yards for Jamal and 117 total yards for Swift, and a 40-yard rip on a run for Jamison Williams. They have everyone involved in the run game, and that's how they can beat Green Bay this weekend. Now, he doesn't play offense, but I also want to give another shout out to James Houston, who notched 3 more sacks on Sunday. He's got 11 tackles and 8 sacks on the season. That's peak efficiency. Not as strange as Justin Fields possibly becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to throw an interception with absolutely no pass rush. Oh, Justin, what are you doing, man? Best defense and special teams, besides the refs playing defense for the Chiefs, is going to the Green Bay Packers. Darnell Savage changed the game early on with a long pick six, I say, and their vaunted special teams even got in on the action when Keyshawn Nixon took a kick 105 yards to the house. Nixon had a 93-yard return last week, but according to ESPN, his greatest skill may be being a shapeshifter. No wonder the Vikings couldn't tackle him. They don't know what fucking position he plays. Overall, the Packers defense held Kirk Cousins to just 1 touchdown, picking him off 3 times. Green Bay now controls their own destiny in Week 18, and they may very well get a 3rd matchup with these Minnesota Vikings. Also, the Vikings now have a negative 19-point differential, which is almost impossible to pull off for a team with 12 wins. My hat actually goes off to Minnesota.
Watch what they say when they talk about me.
Best defender? Well, I'm giving it to Packers corner Jair. My hat is too big to be this serious Alexander, who got torched in week 1 by Justin Jefferson and responded this week, holding the receiver to 1 catch for 15 yards on 5 targets. Alexander single-handedly ended the MVP talk for Jefferson and gritted in his face after breaking up a pass. Worst play? Well, since I'm not giving him the worst quarterback, I'm letting Deshaun Watson take the crown for worst play. Watson scrambled and threw the ball to Jack Conklin, who is, yes, an offensive lineman, not a receiver. The best part of this play is that Deshaun Watson was flagged for illegal touching. Finally, justice is served. Finally. Best stat? Well, Geno Smith has 27 touchdowns. He's only 1 shy of tying the 28 he had in his first 4 years with the Jets. I bet the lamestream media won't bring up the fact that Geno actually has 29 bathrooms in his Seattle home, will they? Keep in mind, this was a revenge game for Geno, and as we know, the Jets wrote him off. Well, that and Ike in Polly turned his jaw into lasagna. That's kind of what ended his career with the Jets, that punch to the face. Best sacks? It's going to the Eagles and Saints, who combined for 12 total sacks in this game, 6 apiece, and if Philly can get 4 more next week, they can tie the 84 Bears for most sacks in a season at 72. A fake accomplishment, considering the Eagles would need an extra game to hit that mark, but impressive nonetheless. Worst moment? It's going to Kayvon Thibodeaux for basically dancing over the corpse of Nick Foles, sacking the Colts QB, and then doing snow angels next to him for what felt like 5 minutes. I have no idea if Thibodeaux knew or was aware that the life was leaving Foles' body, but either way, the juxtaposition of the celebration with Foles writhing in pain was really strange. A weird look for the rookie who's really come along in the last few weeks. Best game? Well, that's Stidham versus Purdy. If you told me a couple months ago we'd get a Jarrett Stidham Brock Purdy shootout, I'd tell you, you're smoking drugs, fuckwad. I'd also say, who the hell is Brock Purdy? And, do I need some antibiotics to get rid of my stids? Cause I think I got the stids. But it turns out the only high is the natural one you get from watching the Purdy Stidham masterclass. Jarrett Stidham got things going with the touchdown to Darren Waller on the first drive and found a great rhythm with Devontae Adams, who made a couple incredible grabs without his best friend Derek. The car is in the shop throwing him the ball. Stidham got rocked on one of the completions to Adams. Stidham totaled 399 yards, passing and rushing combined. Purdy helped Brandon Ayuk notch his first 100-yard receiving game of the season. Run CMC had nearly 200 yards of total offense in a true classic back-and-forth game. Brock Purdy connected with George Kittle in the end zone for the 5th time in 3 games and led the 49ers down the field in the final minute, only for Robbie's fool's gold to very uncharacteristically miss a game-winning field goal. But a Tashawn Gibson interception in overtime would set the stage for Gold to totally redeem himself and seal the game for San Francisco against their former Bay Area rivals. Worst game? Congrats, Jacksonville, you're on the right end of a blowout. You put in your backup quarterback and it wasn't to see if he was better than the starter. Travis Etienne had his 5th 100-yard rushing game of the season, plus a touchdown. JaMychal Hasty had a rushing touchdown. Jared Connor, whoever the hell that is, had a rushing touchdown. And even the Jags defense got a rushing touchdown. Unless things go horribly wrong for you next week, you're in the playoffs, Duval. For the first time since Blake Bortles, the football world is not ignoring the Jags in January. Best finish? Well, this is going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. More specifically, Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris, who had 111 rushing yards in this game. Laugh away, Najee. Laugh away. Trailing by 4 with around 4 minutes left in the game, Pickett put together his best series as a pro, hitting Pat fresh out the fryer move after one of the most brilliant spin moves you'll ever see. I mean, just look how Kenny Pickett avoids literally nobody here. Pickett then lasers another one to Steven Sims before he and Najee turn out yards like butter. Pickett drops a dime to Najee in the end zone for the game-winning score. Their 2022 first-round pick found their 2021 first-round pick for the game winner, keeping Mike Tomlin's non-losing season streak alive and keeping the Steelers in the hunt for the playoffs. Tyler Huntley's final throw probably added about $20 million guaranteed to Lamar's contract. Worst finish? Well, that's going to the Miami Dolphins, who have now lost 5 in a row after starting the season 3-0. Yeah, they were without Tua, Xavier Howard, Bradley Chubb, and Terron Armstead. but they made Mac Jones and the Pats offense look competent. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt after getting stiff-armed into the earth by Kyle Duggar, which seems to be a new tradition for the Patriots. And the Dolphins had to turn to Skylar Thompson again this season, and since not every team is the 49ers, it's actually bad when you're down to your third-string quarterback. Best game-changing play? Well, I'm giving this to Kyle Duggar's pick 6. He's had 2 picks and a forced fumble in the last 4 games. So 3 turnovers in a game that bounced the Dolphins out of the playoffs and put the Pats back in the driver's seat. The Patriots defense has scored 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Finally, best catch. It's going to Mike Williams, who made the best catch on the sideline at SoFi when he twisted and turned to make a one-handed snag, tapping the toes on the sideline and rendering Jalen Ramsey completely helpless, as he has been so often this season. And in a weird home game for both teams, Austin Eckler proved that the Chargers can indeed run the ball, finishing the game with 122 yards, 2 touchdowns on just 10 carries. Boom, that's week 17, best and worst plays. Come back tomorrow for the power rankings. And if you haven't seen the Broncos Chiefs recap in the new worst game ever, it is up on YouTube right now.